Good morning and welcome to TED Talks 2022. Wow, that's crazy to say. This year is going to be crazy busy, and it's hopefully going to be busy for all of you too. And I'm looking forward to talking with you about abundance today. So, if you're interested in building your business and trying to get to the point where, the next level, uh, let's do some things. You're going to learn all about that this hour. Let me know if all of you can hear me right now. We had a little bit of a, if you guys watched Drinking with the Davies on New Year's Eve, we might had a little bit of a foul up with the microphone here. Some of the beverages that were being made got poured on this mic. It doesn't seem to be affecting it, but let me know if I'm muted or anything like that, guys. That would be very much appreciated. Well, welcome. Thank you guys for sticking around. And I appreciate you guys. We got a lot of people here today. We got Donna, Carl, Glenn, and a few other people that are on Facebook. I've got the list is coming in, so bear with me. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about this year. I mean, last year was very, very busy for Ted Davies Artistry. We were very very busy, as everybody knows, if you guys have been following us. And the end of the year was fantastic. And the last quarter of the year, I should say, was very, very abundant, if you want to use the term. I wanted to talk today about a little bit about where TED Talks is going for the year, what's happening with Ted Davies Artistry as far as a YouTube channel goes, and where Drinking with the Davies and all these fun things. New podcast that's coming up this week, Thursday, with Glenn B. Fleming. And I want to just really talk about, the 5 steps that I use for abundance in my business that I've used for years. And it's something I hope it helps you, because I think that, like all of us, there's times where you struggle. You try to get through things in business and in life, and you're kind of you're kind of lost sometimes. And I try to go back to these 5 steps that I usually to get me back on that road. Because sometimes it gets a little distracting with everything that's going on right now. And it's a good distraction, don't get me wrong, but I just want to make sure that I'm using my time wisely on TED Talks so that we're building your businesses. Interviews are great, that kind of stuff that we talked about on TED Talks last year. We're still going to continue that here and there, but I really want to really look at the aspects of business and how my business can grow, obviously, and yours. One of the things that did happen over the holiday was I did receive this in the mail. Yeah, Pulp Reality number 3. What's unique about this Pulp Reality is I'm not just an artist, but I'm also an author in this book. So check out everything that Stormgate Press is doing. Millhouse was awesome. Mr. Millhouse was awesome, letting me actually have a short story in this. So check it out. It is it's a good story. It's a one-off, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I do have a couple copies, so if you guys want to direct message me, I can set those up for purchase if you'd like. Signed, of course. But check out everything that's going on with Pulp Reality 3, because it's a really good correlation of pulp stories with a vast variety of creatives. It's awesome. Charles Millhouse has just been really, really. He's keeping pulp alive, and that's it's an award-winning series, and I think that they are definitely something I'm proud of being involved with. So, like I said, love the cover. I didn't do the cover, but love it. So check that out. Okay, so abundance. A lot of people don't think that the problem with in today's world that I'm seeing, besides obviously things that are going on with the health concerns and that right now, is greed. I've been asked you always see these things come across Facebook and that. I've been asked though, on different shows, what was the one thing that you would get rid of on the planet if you could? What would be the one thing? Or what would you want? Would you want world peace? Would you want hunger to end? Any of that? And mine always comes up to greed. It is always about greed. The removal of greed would make my life. I'm not a greedy person, but my life, I think, would be a lot better off if there was less greed, excuse me, in the world. I think that we've got, that I think that that's just, we're kind of hardwired for it. Unfortunately, we got to get everything we possibly can because it might run out. And I think that there's abundance everywhere. And I think that there's abundance in everything that we do. We can be abundant in our business, in our lives at home. There's always enough, and the theory of lack is a very big problem in today's world. So abundance. Let's look at what I don't know what if it was which. Yeah, there we are. I don't know where I got this from, but we're gonna look at it anyway. Abundance is a noun. It is a very large quantity of something. So you have to look at abundance in a couple of different ways. At least I do. I look at abundance as enough of something, not uh, you don't have to have all of it, but you need to have some, to obviously survive. I don't think that there's anything wrong with having a collection of comic books too many, collection of books too many. But I think that abundance means that there's no lack to it. And I think that that's a really important thing to think about. What do you need in business? What do you need? You know, do you need the largest check possible that was ever cut so that you can survive? Or is that ego? Is that an expectation that you set so that you are who everybody else compares to? You figure out what you need. Figure out how you want to run your business. Figure out how you really want the world, to move forward because of the efforts that you're putting out to the world. I think that a lot of people don't need much when you really look at it. I designed a lot of McMansions in my course in architecture. My uh, few decades in architecture, and these McMansions, they were small castles, and that's great. I don't think that everybody needs to have them, and I think that absolutely, if you want one, go for it. I don't mean that at all, but I think that when you look at really what is, I know people. I'll tell you right now, in design, the dining room is one of the most expensive rooms in the house because you're not even using it a lot of times. A lot of people just eat in the kitchen. The square footage wise, you're taxed on. You don't even use the room. So keep that, that kind of idea of, when you're really looking at business, and this is from a guy that I know I have a wristwatch addiction, and I understand that. So take everything I'm saying as just a kind of a little bit of a guideline, not necessarily the rules. Abundance can be a lot of different things for a lot of people. Abundance could just be enough food in the house, and I completely understand and respect that. So don't you make your own correlation with that word and what you want to do with your business. Whether you're a seasoned author, or you're just starting out, or if you're a seasoned artist, or you're just starting out, look at it from abundance as you set the standard for it, not what the Joneses do next door. You set for what you want to achieve and what you are looking for, because you know what, it might be very manageable, and you might have some really big dreams. That's great. I did, and I'm achieving a lot of them right now. But don't think for a minute that it's not, I did it all. It's because of everybody else around me. There's, we're all connected, and we have to make sure that we understand that. There's a lot of people that forget that in life. I don't think there's any self-made men or women out there, and I've talked about that on my show a few times. But abundance can happen, but set the standard of what you want it to be. One of the things I do want to talk about too is we're working on. I've got a couple things happening right now with different affiliates and different sponsors. So I'm going to be throwing a couple things here. Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Here's one of the tabs that we're putting on now. Is part of the, we're part of affiliated with the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, and we are a group of creatives that help creatives build their business. So check out everything that we're doing on Facebook and YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, but Facebook page especially, the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Check out what we're doing 7 days a week, education and entertainment. Everybody, I think, on the group has a YouTube channel as well. That's why we have the YouTube symbol on there. But check out Rising Tide Broadcast Network on Facebook. We're doing a lot of these different things. In part of abundance, I'm using these small, little, tiny excerpts or picks, if you want to call them that, as promo. And I think it's a really good way to do it. And building abundance for other people is where I'm going with this, and I think that that's a really important thing. And throughout my shows now, it's going to be these are going to be little tiny excerpts of what I want to do is help other people. Wicked Weeds, another great company, my wife's company. It can be found on Facebook. Check that out because it's a great company. I know a few of the people in the chat have been good enough to try out some of the dry goods and spices and that, and they seem to like it, so that's good. We also want to talk about Cashman's Comics in Bay City. Check out everything that John Cashman's doing. You can check them out, actually, cashmanscomics.com. And they got a new dog, too. They got Petey and Bucky now. Buckwheat, or Bucky, I guess they call him, is he looks like Petey's twin. But in any case, check out what John and the other two dogs are doing over at Cashman's Comics. They are awesome. So, there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing here a little bit differently with TED Talks or Ted Davies Artistry in general. But I just want you to kind of see where the things all can happen with abundance very, very, very easily, and helping other people out too. So, hey, Eric, what's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks, Carl. I'll let Christine know about the Wicked Weeds. Grub Rub it's one of my favorites. You guys should check out that if you haven't yet. Okay, so let me see what I've got here. I did the Pulp Reality, did Rising Tide. Okay, so let's get into the talk about the abundance thing. One of the things that I built here too while we're doing it. There we go. I don't know why that's acting up. Beautiful. It's sunny outside and everything else. It's cold, but we're having a little bit. Of course, it's going to happen today. Haven't had any problems with any of the not broadcast, but any. Uh-oh. Sounds like we got the mail call too. So, well, let's try this anyway. Okay. So let me know if you guys can still hear me. And we've got it dropped down to 1 bar. I don't know why it's doing that, but if you guys can still hear me, that's cool. But in any case, hopefully the screen in that is coming up. We've got a card here that I put up. There's 5 steps in what I usually normally do. I mean, if it acts up, it acts up. Maybe it's StreamYard. I don't know. I think I'm showing that I've got 3 bars, but on StreamYard, it's only showing 1. So maybe I'm having, can you guys hear me okay? Let me know. But in any case, let's keep rolling here. And if it cuts out, we'll cut out early and we'll try it again. Maybe I'll videotape it and bring it back. But there's 5 steps. Usually the first step on everything I do, it's not even usually, it's paramount, is empathy. Empathy is the first staple in all of it. Empathy is, I think, the most important thing that you can have in any business dealing that you're having. From where that person is coming from, empathy is huge when it comes to business, because if you've got that edge that you are compassionate about somebody's well-being, that's not a detriment. That is a absolute gift. And for years, I really did not like that my mother instilled that in me, especially in corporate America. But then I really looked at it from a standpoint of what was it hurting to think about the other person first, and it ended up, I built my career on it now, and it's worked out really really well for me. The second's gratitude. I think gratitude, attitude of gratitude, is what I talked about for many, many years. I think an attitude of gratitude is important. Be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for the people around you. Be thankful for the people that, sometimes you don't agree with, because that makes you makes you remember who you are. Be grateful for the things around you. You've only got this moment. Be thankful for that next breath, and be thankful that you can help other people in business. I think that that's this is a simple step when it comes to business. Empathy and gratitude. The third one is decision. Your decision making is paramount in all of this, and empathy and gratitude can help you along that. Decision wise, you go with your gut, go with your instincts. I'm a big proponent of that. It has not led me astray. If I don't feel right about something, I don't do it. I mean, that's it. If it doesn't feel right on the in business, or as far as partnerships and that, yeah, I'm just not a. I'm going to go with my gut. I always do. So decision making, literally, it's a minute to minute thing. It'll drive you crazy if you analyze it like that, but it could really change everything by certain decisions that you're making, not just in business but in life. I've seen people make very stupid mistakes that, with the right forethought, it would have eliminated years and years and years of torment and just hell. And then I've seen other decisions that have made people extremely, extremely happy and wealthy, frankly. So really be careful on your decisions. Go with your gut, though. Your instincts will not lead you astray. And diversity. I think that, a millionaire mindset, uh, what I mean by that is, if you're going to go for the gusto, if you're going to go for the money, if that's your thing, or diversification is the key. Website, have a merch shop, merchandise shop, have your books, have your art available. I mean, there's got to be YouTube, podcasts. Get your, diversify your group. I've got people that, have come to me and said, oh, how do we do this? How can I sell my art? How can I, and they do beautiful art, and they just don't promote themselves. And they don't belong to any groups, forums, or anything that would help them promote their work. But diversity is the key. You've got to have uh, literally multiple streams of income, because not everything's going to pay it at one time. Books do, sometimes royalties do, um, you know, especially with screenwriting and that. There's a lot of things going on with that right now that I'm learning, with development monies and everything else. Not everything pays, over. It's a course of time thing. And sometimes, if you're an independent publisher, it's fantastic because you usually get paid when they purchase the books. If you're traditional publishing, that's not necessarily the case. But diversification is key. Just like in the market, if you have a 401k in that too, diversify. Put your money over a wide spread of things, not just one thing. Because I mean, all your eggs in one basket is it's not always a good thing. So keep that in mind when you're running. At least this is what I've done in the past, and it's paid for itself with me, because it's just been a better way to do business. And the fifth one, and really I think probably next to empathy, the fifth one is probably the most important. Don't compare yourself. I mean, keeping up with the Joneses is how a lot of us were raised in America. And I don't know about Glenn. You probably set the standard there in the UK, but here it, the guy next door got the new car, at least in Detroit. Oh, look at the car he got, look what look at the house that they bought. That's fine. If that's your gig and that's what you want, go for it. But I have a real hard problem when, and I've done this. I did this for years. You buy the nice car, you are spending more money than you should on things just to impress some people that you don't even like. And I don't I it took me years to figure that out. Why are you buying the sports car? Why are why are you getting the big house? Do you need it? That's fine. If that's part of what you're going for, that's great. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have nice things. Like I said, I've got uh, a watch addiction, so I'm not any better than anybody else. But try not to compare yourself to people because that's a really dangerous thing. Oh, they're more talented, or they're better looking, or they've got more money, or Um, Glenn says it's the same thing. Whoops, hold on one second. Glenn, let me. I'm actually going to take this this down here. Glenn says that same here. Too much looking around what the other guy's doing. Well, I mean, and again, you're back to there's what's guiding you. Why are you? Why do we put them up on a pedestal? It's because obviously all the promotions, everything that we see, commercials and magazine ads, it's been in our lives forever. We've had there's just it's an ongoing thing, and a lot of the times too. I want to address this, and Carl might be able to jump on this. Um, the voice in your head is not necessarily you beating yourself down. It might have been somebody else earlier in your life that has put that message in your head that you're not good enough, or you're not never going to achieve anything if you do that. Or I've noticed that with a lot of people that there's that annoying, even with me with anxiety, that there's a very annoying thing that we do, our brains do. And I don't necessarily think it's our voice. And I'm not saying that it was my parents or anything like that either, but I think that there's somewhere down the line, maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a fellow student, your peer said something to you that, and it manifests into something that could be very detrimental if you're not careful. So keep that in check, though. Let me see. Let's read what Carl says here. Sometimes getting too much turns into a burden. We get a large house. Okay. Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Then that's one of the perspectives that I've seen in architecture. And that I see these people that they're so overloaded with debt. They have to work even harder to get on the next vacation, to get because they've got the set standard. The grass has got to be this green, no dandelions. It's got to be, it goes on and on and on. And thanks. If you guys can like and share this out, this would be great. Thank you. It's a continually, you're on this. It's a rat race for the reason. But it's a rat race that can't be won because they're always moving the cheese. Remember that too, because that's a big thing that took me years to figure out. And I don't live minimally, and that's something that I learned over the course of the last couple weeks. I don't live minimally. I live simply, and I think that that's a big part of us as business owners, us as independents, artists or publishers, is that we need to look at it. If you cut back on a few things, it frees up other things. And I've noticed that with a lot of people, they want they want all these great things when they're younger. And I get that. I totally understand it. And I'm not knocking it. But when you look at it from a standpoint of having a simpler life, having it to where the bills are lower and you're in a nicer place or a more beautiful nature setting, if you want to call it that, it really, really makes a huge difference as a creative for me. And because I'm not distracted by other things. I'm not distracted by, oh God, I've got $1,000 or $1,500 house payment. I've got a $500, $600 payment for my car plus insurance, gas. I mean, on and on and on. So, I mean, it's a real, like you said, it becomes a spiral. Let's see what I've got here. I'm trying to read these two. Sorry, guys. Carl says, I try to only hear the positive voices in my head. I ignore all those nasty. Well, and I think that I do too. I try to. And usually I mean, it really depends on, honestly, it could depend on, during my work, when I used to work outside the home in architecture, if somebody had said something or somebody in a meeting had made a comment or something like that, it would ruin my whole day. It would completely devastate my whole day. I don't allow that anymore. Um, it's an empathy thing too, because I don't want to do that to Christine. I still have a battle with it as far as my, just, me. It almost, maybe it's being bullied or something of that sort. I don't know. But the mentality of it all, I get it. And I understand that we all go through it. So, and this is, this is what I'm saying. If you get into the point where you're understanding what your abundance is and what you want to achieve, you know, are you on the right path? Are you on that path that's going to help you make an easier living and make an easier life for yourself? Let me read what Carl says here. When I was a teen, I picked out a counsel for my decisions. Buddha, Jesus, Lincoln, Mark Twain, and other ideals live in my head. That's really, really good advice. I can totally attest to that. And, I think that, you know, there's a lot of good things looking at people that were actually not. I don't like using the word divine because I think we're all divine, but I think that they were human, and they had, they had their, they were human. They had their misgivings. I think that's easy. That's a really good way to put life in perspective, because when you've got a, when you look at some of these people and you're putting them on pedestals, and that, even in today's world, say rock stars, whatever, they're flawed. I mean, they're very, very flawed. Um, and when you're looking at business, you see a lot of these, you see a lot of very shady things that go on in some of these major, major deals, these, acquisitions and everything else. And I'm like, man, I don't really want to be part of that at all. How do you, how do you get through that? How do you handle the, how do you handle the, I don't know, negatives, not the right word, but it's just a bad energy maybe. But I think that it's important that when you're following these teachers like Buddha and Jesus, Lincoln, Mark Twain, like you were saying, and I consider Mark Twain, even though it's not his real name, um, a, a leader in a lot of respects, because I've got a whole series. I don't know if you can't see it from here, but and whole, all of his writings from, there was a series that was produced in the 1920s, and I've got them all, and it's just fantastic. But just the way, the inspiration and the humanity of the teachings, and I consider Mark Twain a teacher too. Um, you can learn a lot about yourself in whether it's scripture, whether it's in literature. You can learn a lot about yourself. And that's the quote of the day. Everybody poops. I like that. Sometimes they poop in abundance, I think, in a bad way. Not necessarily in the literal term, but um, that's true. I think that there's, my mother would have she had a saying. She said, if you ever think somebody's really, really, really good looking, or you think that you're just it, you're the end all, look at your feet. Look at your feet. She said that'll keep you humble, and that just for anybody she meant. And I don't, I'm sure I've got ugly feet, but whatever. There's people that, there's always flaws, and I think that sometimes, I mean, even I've taught this too, that the Japanese have a term called wabi sabi, and it's the perfection and imperfection is basically what it means, and it's the and that's the truth of it all. I think that you should have, everything's imperfect. Um, it's perfect, but it's imperfect. It's exactly where it needs to be, but it's not exactly where it needs to be. There's a lot of, and I think that we have to look at it from our perspective, each one of us, and see, what's that saying about us if we think that something is not right? I mean, unless it's like really, a terrible thing like a murder or something like that, or um, child abuse or something like that. That's horrific. But when you look at it from um, a maybe the way that a old car rusts out. Some people think that that's just hideous, but then some of us really love the patina. It really, you've got to be the judge on that. Just like you have to be on the judge on abundance for your business. You've got an avenue that you could take. There's several avenues that you can take to be abundant in your business. Whether you decide to go down those roads, well, that's up to you. But make sure that you're doing it in the right intent, in the right response, not to screw over somebody else. I don't think you need to tear down a building or tear down other people's buildings in order to build your own. I think that you can build buildings amongst others, and you don't have to tear anybody down doing it. I hope you don't mind me posting that, Glenn. I don't think you would have written it if you did. My mother told me I wouldn't amount to anything. When I did have success, she wouldn't accept it because it was me. Sometimes you can't win. Well, it depends on, like you said, you always want your mother's approval. I was very fortunate because my parents were always really, really supportive. Um, but my dad would never let me trace anything. Everything had to be freehand, and it was probably. I remember seeing the movie River Runs Through It with Brad Pitt. Years ago. This is when it first came out, and there's a scene in it where the little boy is writing. His dad was his school teacher because they were out in rural wherever it was, Montana or wherever, and he was writing. He had to rewrite this thing over and over again. His dad would keep correcting him and keep correcting it, red lines on the paper and everything. If you haven't seen it, check the movie out because it's a great movie, but it's a great scene. And I remember that popping into my head because my dad was very much uh, love him dearly. Loved him. I still love him, but he he would do that. He would do that with my drawings. Like, well, you could have done this better. The perspective's off. That kind of stuff. And I don't think he meant it. Hey, Grant, I don't think he meant it and it was very constructive criticism. But as a young kid, it was, I would go to my mom. I'm like, man, she's like, that he loves you, but it's hard. You're learning still on how, and he was teaching me, but you still have that, and maybe that's that. It wasn't, there was some major, just amazing things my dad accomplished for me and with me and everything else, and he was an incredible guy. But there's always that you always want your parents to be proud of you, and I get that, Glenn. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. That stinks. And yeah, like you said, your dad was great, right? He would encourage me, my mother, not so much. And that, that's part of it. Sometimes we're supposed to learn both, and maybe that's, you're maybe supposed to learn that perspective from your mom. That maybe that's true. I know that, my grandmother didn't have a very, my mother's mother didn't, or excuse me, my father's mother didn't have a very great childhood. She was left in an orphanage during the time, during the World War II or before World War II, excuse me. And her and her, I believe it was her brother, they were both left in an orphanage. And I think that forever changed her perspective on life as far as being just, I don't know, being cold. I never met her. So these are only stories that I hear, but you never know what people have gone through in their lives that have, that could change, and I'm not saying that they need to perpetuate that throughout their lives. Sometimes not sometimes, all the time you should move past that, hopefully in a healthy way. But I think that there's, again, you're back to empathy. We're back to, I would still be, I'm still grateful that my father taught me those lessons, even though he never wanted me to trace, because I think it made me a better artist. I know it made me a better artist in general, whether it's architecture or whatever, because it gave me the drive and the guidance to say, you know what, I can do that because I can already freehand this. I already know. Yeah, I don't need to trace. I don't need to do that. I can do this on my own. And not that tracing's bad. It's just, it's a different form of art. But for my dad, that was very um, old school way of making sure that you've got the chops. Yeah, I'm glad that you are here live, Grant. By the way, I did get your book in the mail. I'm actually going to start doing and one of the things I want to talk about too on this show. I was telling people about Pulp Reality. We just got this in the mail, which I'm an artist and author on. This is Pulp Reality number 3. I've got a great series of artists and authors in this, so check that out. I've got a couple copies if you want to direct message me, and we can set up a deal on that. Of course, it'll be signed. But what I'm going to do in each of my shows now is I'm going to showcase one book, one independent book, I think, just as a not a prop through the show, but tell people a little bit more about the artist or the creator that made the book and that. So look at some of the TED Talks coming up, because you're going to probably see your books in there, guys, that I invested on the Kickstarters, and that I did privately purchase. So yeah, I look forward to that. So let me get this off of there. Sorry about that, Glenn. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of ways we can look at abundance. The first thing is get your guidelines, figure out what you want to achieve. If you don't think that you, and a lot of it is a mindset, because I know people that shoot for the stars and some of them miss and they get frustrated and that's it. They throw in the towel, and that's okay. But the reality is that that's not reality. I mean, we all know that we've tripped and we've fallen, we've skinned our knees or whatever else, and it heals and we move on. That's the thing about abundance. It's all around us, and it is abundant. Life is full of abundance. If we just see it, even the oxygen that we're breathing right now, it's everywhere. If unless it's in a plate, unless there's something wrong with the environment, but it's the abundance is all around us. We need to make sure that we're setting our goals, I think, to be realistic, though. If you like, I think Brian's goal of getting Cookie home, that's a great goal. That's something everybody, the whole group, can help. The goal of going to California, getting the development deal and everything else, that was a goal that I knew I could achieve if I had other people working with me and getting it to the point where it's to the, you can make it happen. So abundance, in that regard, for me, it isn't about, it's about being comfortable. It's not about being, having a Hollywood star or anything like that, if that makes any sense. But you got to be upfront and be truthful with yourself what abundance is before you start, down the road of trying to be abundant. Let's see what Glenn says here. My art teacher was the same. She couldn't even get my name right. Imagine that. A 40-plus-year-old teacher was intimidated, by a 12-year-old. Makes me think, I could draw. And I've got some, I don't like this added, I don't like this saying that if you can't do it, you teach. I mean, I don't like that. I've got a lot of awesome people in my family that are educators, and I think it's very important that they're recognized. I think that a lot of teachers need to be recognized, but I've had a couple of flaky teachers too. In that I had one English teacher, I remember, in high school, and I wrote. We were trying to write a story, and he just roasted me on the story I wrote. And I was like 15 or something. It's about a bike race or something. I was into biking back then. And he just roasted me, and never forget it. I forgot the guy's name. Never forget the face, though. I got through that class. I got like a C in it, but I went to my counselor and I said, I want to go to the advanced class. I want to go to the advanced writing class. And I said, are you sure? Because you just got a C in this class. And I'm like, yeah, but the guy's a jerk, So he agreed with me, I think, on that privately. And then I went to the advanced class. The advanced class, the guy was amazing. The teacher was just awesome. And what he did was he wanted not necessarily the story. He wanted to teach us words. He wanted to teach us the value of vocabulary. And he would let us literally every class, every day, we would have to crack open a dictionary, if you guys remember what those were. And we would have to find a word, just aimlessly find a word and then use that in a sentence during the course of the class, all during that class. So I think mine was like epicure or something. And I think it meant it was a person that drank ale or something. I forget now. I have to look it up. But the fact that the vocabulary, the way that the words were not forced upon you, but that was huge. That was a huge thing that that there was not a. It wasn't necessarily the story. It was the parts into the story that you could make a door sound more interesting than just a door. You could, the planks or there's all kinds of ways. There's so many details and vocabulary what you could do. And then he taught us structure on how to write. So I think that, when you've got a good educator, and I'm sure that each one of them have their times that they're not, but I think that a lot of the times you've got some good ones that are really remarkable. I don't know. I think that I know I'm rambling a little bit, but the biggest thing about this show was just making sure that abundance is achievable. You can get there. You got to set the standard of what you want though, and then make sure that it's something that you believe in. You believe that you can achieve it. Believing is achieving, right? I don't know if there's any the 5 steps that I have might be different than what Glenn does or Glenn has, or like Carl or Donna or Grant or Eric or anybody that's on this call. They might all have different steps. They might have 4 steps or 3 steps, or, maybe just one step of how to get there. But I think that you've got to be a realist about what's going on with your work and with your business. Make sure that you've got some type of feedback. Better be positive feedback. Excuse me for one second. And maybe sometimes not so positive, but as long as it's constructive, that's the main thing. You've got to get around people that are creatives. You got to get around a group of people that have not just their interests, but yours as well. You're to help you to build something for yourself. Again, it goes back to empathy and compassion. And then you've got the makings of a very hopefully a smooth transition into abundance. Empathy, gratitude, your decision making, diversity in what you're doing. Make sure that when you're building your business, you've got some type of merchandise if you want that, but make sure that your books or your artwork are available to the public. Get a website, get on Facebook, Instagram. Make sure that you've got you can build a following, because that's really the key. I mean, no fans, no income. Pretty simple. And then, don't compare yourself to the people that have 100,000 followers, or the people that, I've seen some people that have 100,000 followers that probably 100 people follow them, really follow them. And I've seen or I should say 1,000, but still it's the numbers game is a very fickle beast. Don't compare yourself to anyone. You're the only one that can draw the way you do. You're the only one that can write the way that you do. You're the only one that can tell that story the way that you do. And that is your marketability. That is who you are as far as a creative. And that is your point of reference in this huge universe. And that's your power. That's your superpower when it comes down to it. Your perspectives, your viewpoints, your creativity is what is going to make the world a better place for others. So, Glenn, my art teacher was a disgrace. No excuses. I was the only person in the group who had any talent for drawing. She should have encouraged me, but put me down. Well, and I noticed that a lot. It depends on where I was at school. I know that there were some teachers that in certain parochial settings were harder on me than in a public school setting. My public school, high school, Stevenson, big shout out to Stevenson High School in Livonia, Michigan, was awesome. They did some amazing things. The art teacher was great. And they had the career centers. The career centers taught us architecture and all these. How you doing, Ryan? Good morning. The career centers, really got me involved in architecture and really got me going on that path. But it's also it's the setting again. You've got some teachers that have some really bad upbringing or really bad experiences. They're not going to teach your kids properly. Maybe they will, but maybe they turn the corner and they learn from that treatments that they had, and they benefit to build a better group of kids. I don't know, but you're and it's all how you look at it, right? Is it half full, half empty? I mean, Glenn, you're a success. I love your artwork, and I have to say, if that teacher ended up pushing you a little bit to be where you're at today, which I would not say that happened, but I would thank them because I think you're brilliant. But I think that, and we've all had people like that in our lives that kind of shifted us to maybe not the way we wanted to be shifted, but nonetheless, that's part of our journey, and maybe, I know that there's certain things in architecture I wouldn't have done if I hadn't have been pushed a certain way, as far as going against the grain was kind of my thing. Because, there's certain people that were just, whether building departments, whatever. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's not what's going to happen. That's impossible. You can't do that kind of stuff. Why would you do that? That kind of, whether it's an art or whatever. And pushing that envelope, I think, made me more of a well-rounded person, if you want to call it that, or a better designer or a better artist. So I don't know. I mean, it's all how you look at it, I guess. Thank you. You too, Ryan. I wish you the best. Yeah, I'm sure she was, Glenn. How do you pronounce that? Is it Ars? I guess it's Ars. I can say that on my YouTube channel, can I? I don't think I have to put I don't think I have to have any caution or anything on that. Well, I don't, I've had, like I said, I've had a couple people that were just they're pretty sharp tongue when it came to, the way they thought about things. And almost to a shock factor. It's like, I can't believe you just said that to me, and it's like, wow. And I think maybe it's made it better now, but early on it was crushing. I understand. I get that. But I wish abundance on everybody in all your businesses and in your good health in the new year. I want to give an update to Grim 101 Book 2 real quick. I've got a portion of the editing back. I've done a few changes that I caught that I wanted to do to make the book a little bit better, a little bit more of what I want to make it. I think it's going to be more of a, it's just a good move. I think it's going to be a good move. And I'm going to be sending those pages back to the editor this week. So I should have all my editing taken care of in about a week or so. The artwork is almost complete. I've got a couple more pieces of watercolor I'm putting together for the book. We're still shooting for, depending on everything. I don't know if there's any restrictions on the paper right now. We're going to do a few things on that. We'll know more, but I'm going to have everything. I'm still shooting for February, late February, to get everything out, fulfilled to you guys. So thank you. I've got all of the miniatures up as far as they're ready for. I'm going to start detailing those out soon. I've been getting them prepped and primed, and then I'll start working on them, and I'll document that as I go, just so that you guys know what's happening with Grim 101 and it book 2, because I know I'll update it too on the emails. I haven't been doing that because we've been on vacation. So okay, so the big news is too, Thursday we have a pretty big announcement. Glenn and I do. Let's see what we got here for Thursday. So TED Talks. I stepped away from the TED Talks timepieces at 10 a.m. A while back, just because I've gotten too busy with other things. But the spot was still open, so Glenn and I wanted to take. We've been doing the Truth Mongers, which we've enjoyed, but we're getting to the point now where we kind of want to work more on economic things. We've got publications and that type of thing that we're going to be working on. One of which is the Comics Unlimited, as you see behind me here. Comics Unlimited magazine. And what we decided to do is start a podcast dealing with the magazine, dealing with what we're going to be doing quarterly next year, or this year, I should say, and how it's going to affect everybody here and how it's going to build your businesses as well if you decide to plug into what we're doing. So with no further ado, let me do the promo real quick. It'll be at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. And I look forward to speaking with you, Glenn, about this whole deal that we're doing coming on this Thursday. Hold on one second.
Welcome to the Comics Unlimited podcast with your hosts, Glenn B. Fleming and Ted Davis.
That's going to be cool. It's going to be a fun time. So hopefully you guys will be plugging in with us on that and really look at the publication for the amazing value that it's going to be and how it's going to help a lot of people understand not just comics, comic books, the history of comics, comic strips, you name it, and also indie people that are coming up. So, and I know that Glenn's been doing this a long time. I'm only here to hopefully enhance and bring what I can to the mix. So, let's see what we got here. I've got, I think, Drinking with the Davies. Okay, so Friday we also have Drinking with the Davies at 7:00. Christine and I are mixing up a couple easy mixers of with the Jack Daniel's specialty drinks that they make. So I want you guys to check that out because it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to a whole nother new year of the Drinking with the Davies show, because I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. We've got a few things planned, a few outdoor events. I'm hoping that with the weather permitting in the future, we're able to do. Maybe we'll bring in a cigar side to that with the Drinking with the Davies, Carl. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, the teaser was the trailer was put together by Glenn and his wife. If you guys recognize Helen's beautiful voice, she's just awesome. She's just awesome. Glenn is too. Don't get me wrong, but anyway, but there's a lot going on this year. I hope everybody is looking at their scope of what they got going for the year, and hopefully they can produce what they want to. I know that a lot of us have books out or books that are coming out this year, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be well busy. I'm hoping that everybody's in good health, and that where we're at right now with the wave of everything, hopefully it smooths itself out and levels itself out to where we're safely going to be able to get into Comic-Cons in a normal fashion, somewhat normal fashion. I know that we're going to be doing a lot this year on the road as far as Comic-Cons and that. I've got a few shows that I'm doing that are very good shows that I'm really looking forward to all through the year. We've been almost booked up now for the whole year. So, hey, Damien, how you doing, man? Good morning. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so much going on with this adventure. So, and that's exactly what I'm calling it. I've turned it into a journey, into an adventure, because it's become that, thanks to all of you. So if you're watching this on the rerun, I know you guys are probably working now. You're getting back to work and getting back to the grind and everything else. Thank you for supporting everything that we're doing at Ted Davies Artistry. All of you guys are Ted's tribe. And, this is part of the adventure is what we're going to be calling it now. We got a lot going on. I know I'm forgetting something. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, but we're going to check out a lot of things coming up next week. I believe I'm supposed to have a guest and it's going to be a surprise, but I'll put that out this week. So, and then you guys will see who's coming up. So thanks so much, guys, for checking in and making sure you guys are going to be abundant this year. If you guys have something that you've learned over the years that made you more abundant in your business, let me know. Leave it in the comments. Please like and share this and subscribe to what we're doing, because I would really love you guys to be part of this adventure. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Stay healthy.